We couldn't be more excited to be offering you more networking and professional development opportunities in 2017. We encourage you to carve out the time and keep coming back to our online events because of its ease and ability to network from your office, while on the road, and even from the comfort of your own home. You will see in the bottom right of your screen below the chat box the opportunity to download today's presentation directly from the room to your desktop. Since we only have 30 minutes together today, I want to get our session started by introducing you to this session's coach. Deirdre McGee is a professional career management coach and owner of 12 Stones Coaching, LLC. Her career includes more than 30 years of internal and external organizational effectiveness consulting, management, employee and leadership development, education and training development and delivery, and team and work group development. Deirdre has been a skilled and trusted advisor and coach to senior leaders, colleagues, and clients. She focuses on building collaborative partnerships and provides support and practical feedback to help clients address changes in their personal and professional lives. Deirdre also integrates coaching techniques and helpful tools to offer a highly personalized program tailored to her client. With compassion and understanding, she works with clients to help build your strengths and attain the personal growth you are committed to achieving. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Administration, Human Resources Management from Loyola University of Chicago, and a Master of Science degree in Management and Organizational Behavior from Benedictine University, and is currently completing the requirements for 2 coaching certificates and 1 ICF credential. Everyone, you're in for a treat. Good afternoon, Deirdre, and welcome.
Good afternoon, Natalie. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. As you all know, our focus this quarter is about celebration, and the theme for this month is celebrating our teams. Given that this is the end of the year and a time when we turn our thoughts to giving thanks and thinking about gifts to acknowledge those around us, it seems fitting to revisit some key thoughts around celebrating the teams we lead and the teams to which we belong. But first, I'd like to gather a little bit of information about those of you in the room with us today. So let's start with this first poll. And I want you to take a few seconds to answer this question. I spend at least 90% of my time working on a team, in a work group, or on my own. Now, if you work for a business as an employee, you will likely take this question at face value. If you are an entrepreneur, it may be less obvious. Some entrepreneurs own companies large enough to have a staff of people supporting the organization. Others, like me, have a staff of 1. But even if that's you, think about how you get things done and with whom you work with, to accomplish your company's goals. Are you really doing it alone? Or are you pulling people into a virtual group to work with you to accomplish the things that you've set out before you? I see a lot of you are getting acquainted and getting reconnected in the chat box. That's one of the things I love about NAPW. It looks like our poll is finished, and it looks like about I can read the results with you. it looks like about 27% of us say that we work on a team, and 27% of us say we work on our own. And then in the middle, we've got a. Now, in reality, very little gets done in total and complete isolation. A little history for you. In the 21st century, most people work in some sort of work group or team, while organizations almost always in the past divided their employees into work units and work groups. The concept of teams really began to take hold in the early 90s, along with things like management by objectives, matrix management, total quality management, business process reengineering, and so forth. Work units in that time were renamed teams, and to various degrees, expectations for how employees are expected to work together and be evaluated changed. But truth be told, many of these new teams were just work groups with a new name. They were still a collection of individuals with individual goals, similar responsibilities and skills, and who were cranking out similar work. What they were not were self-directed, sharing responsibility for outcomes, or bringing a variety of complementary skills to bear on a common goal. The reality of teams didn't necessarily align with the intention and definition in many cases. Over the years, the terminology has hung on, as well as many of the challenges. But one thing remains consistent. Whether the collection of employees is an actual team or a team in name only, it needs to acknowledge and celebrate its successes, large and small. There are, pardon me, I think I skipped one. So let me go back a second. There are, you may have noticed, pardon me, that I have been highlighting and talking about the differences between teams and work groups. Teams work toward a common goal. They share responsibility for outcomes. They operate interdependently. So they come together and work together in a way that you don't when you're working alone. They have complementary skills, and leadership is shared among team members. Work groups, on the other hand, work toward individual goals. They share information, operate independently, have random and varied skills, and the leadership tends to be centralized in the group manager. Now, there are ways in which teams and work groups are similar. They enhance performance. Both can increase responsiveness to customers. They increase innovation, motivation, and satisfaction, and support the organization in gaining a competitive advantage. Both benefit from celebrating the work that its members are able to contribute to the organization, and both benefit from celebrating success. Let's take a minute and I apologize for that little blip on my part, but let's take our second poll and take a second to look at how important it is to be recognized. So answer this question for me. For you personally, using this scale, how important is being recognized at work to you? Is it very important, somewhat important, neither important nor unimportant, somewhat unimportant, or completely unimportant? And try repeating that about 10 times if you can. Not only do we need to think about this question for ourselves, but it also serves us well to learn enough about our staffs and our teammates to understand the importance of recognition to them. One key thing to remember is that while recognition is important to most of us, what it looks like can be vastly different from one individual to the next. So just a few seconds to complete your responses to this poll, and we'll see what results we have. And boy, this is very interesting, but not expected. More than 55% of our group today say that being recognized is either very important or somewhat important. And so if you think about it, if recognition is important to you, imagine how important it is to those we lead, as well as to those that we work with. Celebrating success is the most obvious type of recognition. It has a greater impact than many of us believe. There is plenty of readily available research to support the fact that satisfaction levels of employees impact customer and client satisfaction. And that in turn impacts the bottom line of an organization. And for most of us, we're in business to make money and to increase our bottom line. Even nonprofit organizations are in business to achieve a goal, and therefore often raise money in order to move their organization forward. Employees need to feel that their efforts and the results that they get for the organization matter. If you think about what you just told me through that poll, and you think about how important recognition is to you, then know that it is also that important, if not more so, to the people you lead and the people with whom you work. We need to know that our voices are heard, that our work is recognized and valued, and that we're viewed as beings of consequence, and that we are contributing to the broader work effort. Let's take a look at some of the benefits of celebrating our teams. Celebrations help teams share their successes and best practices, not only within the team, but also to the broader organization around it. Think about it. When a team knocks one out of the park and gets a big victory, and I am talking about work teams, not sports, work teams, people are looking at that group of individuals to see, what did they do? How did they do it? How can we emulate the great example that they just shared with us? And celebrations help us get the word out that we're doing great things, and we've got something to share with you that may help you do your job better. Team celebrations also inspire team members and help to keep them engaged and motivated. It draws the group together. There's a lot of camaraderie that can be found in successful teams and groups that are able to achieve their goals. It demonstrates respect from you, the leader, or you, the teammate, to the other team members. It lets them know that you're paying attention and that you care about what it is that they're doing. Celebrations build a sense of solidarity and can help bring your group closer together. And if it's a true team and they're working interdependently, that solidarity is invaluable to moving the team forward. Celebrations also support motivation, build positive reinforcement, and helps boost morale. And additionally, as I mentioned before, you get improved employee satisfaction, higher levels of employee engagement, increased customer and/or client satisfaction, and improved financial results. So then the question becomes, what should I be celebrating? And there are countless ways that you can celebrate. Bottom line, I encourage you to always be on the lookout for opportunities to recognize your team and your teammates. Look not only for the big things, but also the smaller things, such as celebrating milestones instead of project completion. If you celebrate along the way, it can keep the momentum of the team moving forward. So some other ideas are celebrating project implementations, demonstrations of extraordinary teamwork, looking for those places where team members are going above and beyond, especially on a consistent basis. And then there are the smaller things like birthdays and work anniversaries and countless other ideas that you and your team can come up with and plan to celebrate as those events and those events come about and the timing is appropriate. If you study your team and your teammates to learn what their recognition and acknowledgement needs are, you can then use that knowledge to inform your observations and decisions about what you recognize and what you celebrate. So then you want to look for ways to celebrate your team. The possibilities are endless. Some common ideas often center around food when I think about it. Group dinners and cocktails, group lunches and outings. Make celebration an agenda item for your team meetings. You could start or end every meeting with a time for recognition and celebration of those smaller things. You might set up a brag board somewhere in your work area where you and team members can post honorable mentions or acknowledgments or thank you notes that help the team recognize on a day-to-day basis the things that are going well. Because how often is it that we tend to focus on the things that don't quite go the way we want them to? And we often overlook the little things that keep us going and those small successes along the way. There are some other less common and maybe more innovative ways of celebrating your team. For example, if a team is in the midst of a long or difficult or challenging project, You might bring in a yoga instructor or a chair massage therapist for a day and have intervals of time where people can disconnect and relax a little bit, get recentered, and get refocused and re-energized to go back to work. You might set aside a small fund that people can use to buy business books or industry books that help advance their learning and their growth. You might give them time to decompress by going to a fun class together. For example, nowadays, you might be able to take your team out to a mixology class. Now, that one you'd have to do after work hours, folks. Don't go away telling people that Deirdre McGee said you could take people out to learn how to mix drinks in the middle of the workday. But it's an idea for after hours. Maybe you want to take a cooking class or a wine tasting. Nowadays, you can go someplace and have a cocktail and learn how to paint. Things that are unrelated to work, but fun, and show your team that you're paying attention to them. Other outings that I think are still popular are things like paintball and laser tag. Let them blow off some of the steam and the tension and maybe some of the stress of the projects they're working on. If you've got singers, there's karaoke. You can go to arcades. One of the things that we love to do here in the summer in Chicago is to go on boat trips out on Lake Michigan. So if you live near a body of water, there might be an opportunity like that. The key is to know how to celebrate your team members. Learn enough about your team and teammates to understand the type of recognition that works for them. One thing to remember, though, is when you're doing individual recognition especially, be really careful about learning how individuals like to be recognized. For some people, public recognition is either personally uncomfortable or culturally uncomfortable. And so to recognize someone like that in a public way would have the opposite effect that you're trying to achieve by celebrating their success and their contributions. So do your best to match your method of celebration to the group in the method that is preferred by them. Some additional thoughts around the celebrations that you can have. In general, make your celebrations timely. Plan your event in close proximity to the success that you're celebrating so that it's fresh and people actually remember that thing that you're acknowledging them for. When possible, make it public. That lets your broader audience know, again, that you're paying attention, that you care, and that you are closely monitoring and engaged in the things that are going on in your team. Make your recognition specific. Be very specific about what you're celebrating and which people you are recognizing and why. And don't forget, this whole notion of recognition and celebration is not all on the boss, the leader. Team members can and should recognize one another. Build a culture of celebration and recognition in your team. Now, groups and teams are the lifeblood of business because they're made up of people. And people are the drivers of industry. But also because the synergy that can happen when multiple minds come together to innovate and problem solve. It's a beautiful thing. A well-working, well-organized, effective work group or team can move mountains in an organization. Under the right circumstances, a group of people can create far better outcomes than they could as individuals on their own. So finally, I just encourage you to recognize and celebrate your teams and your teammates because it's good for business. And quite frankly, Natalie, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity. To you ladies, thank you for spending some time with me. And I will turn this over to Natalie Fikes to close us up.
Thank you, Deirdre, for an excellent session. It's so incredibly important to acknowledge our peers, coworkers, and those we surround ourselves with. By doing so, it helps create efficiency while showing their work, whatever work that is not going unnoticed. You will see a link to our next eCoaching event on November 21st at noon Eastern, where you learn how to negotiate a bigger and better salary with Katrina Brittingham, master level business and accounting professional, certified professional resume writer, as well as a career development and transition coach. Please go ahead and click the link and register now. Also, please make sure to go to napw.com eCoaching group page and join our hosts and other attendees there to continue the conversation on the group activity wall. Look out for our communications for all upcoming e-events. And if you are interested in submitting to be an eCoaching host, please reach out to us at the email that you see on your screen. Thank you, Deirdre, and to the 1,000 members who registered for today's amazing eCoaching session. We look forward to seeing you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.